Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the Lake Effect Gardener. My name's Jim, and I am currently in my shed, something that I haven't done in quite some time. And for those who follow me on Facebook and Instagram, you guys may have seen my early morning post of the sunrise coming over the horizon here at my little cottage. And I thought, well, you know what, today, even though it is cold, it's about 22 degrees outside right now. And that's below zero for all my Celsius friends. Even though it's that cold, I thought, you know, the sun is gorgeous. I want to be outside at some point. So I decided I would come out and spend some time in my shed. And so I've got my tea, and I've got my knitting. And I thought today would be a really great day for me to film kind of my year in review. It's not a year in review, it's more like a half a year in review, since I think I started my YouTube channel back in June. Yes. So I kind of want to do a little reflection and tell you about how I feel about how this year went and whatnot. By the way, this project that I'm working on for my knitting, it seems kind of ridiculous, but it is a trash to treasure in its own way. So I have these pot holders, and they're not the prettiest things. There's two of them. I only have one of them out here. But I've got these pot holders that belong to my great aunt, and she's been gone for 20 years now. She was a very important person to me, and she taught me everything in regards to like cooking and baking and knitting and crocheting and sewing. And I feel like she was the very first person to introduce me in her own way to being a self-sufficient person and upcycling and things like that. My parents had a lot to do with that as well. All of my gardening really comes from my dad, and my mom is amazing when it comes to upcycling and trash to treasure and holding on to things because you never know when you're going to need it. Anyways, so I have these two pot holders, and they are worse for wear. You could see they're pretty well ripped here in the middle. And I use these all the time when I'm cooking, and Christmas Eve was really like the last straw, because I kept burning myself, because there's literally like a hole here. There's nothing but material between my hand, my flesh, and the sizzling hot pans and whatnot. So I thought, you know, I can't get rid of these. They have too much sentimental value. So that's what I'm knitting right now, are these little pockets. So right now, I mean, this one's almost done. I just have to finish closing it up. But these are made from Fisherman's Wool. It's Lion brand yarn, and it's a really nice brown tweed type of design. And honestly, I'm just knitting a little pocket, and these hot pads here, these pot holders, will fit inside of this little pocket, and then I'll seal it up, and then my great aunt's pot holders will live to see another day. And it's the first project that I ever knitted that she showed me when I was learning how to do it was actually a pot holder, so which my mother has. So I've come a long way since that first project. I think I was about 6 or 7 years old, but dropped stitches everywhere. It looks terrible, but my mom kept it. Anyways, so that's what I'm working on currently with my knitting. But anyways, that's not what this is about. This is about my year. This is just a chat. And because my mind is always fleeting and I'm a list maker, I went the route of my other fellow YouTubers when it comes to making a list. I made a list of things I'd like to talk about. And the stationery that I got for Christmas, by the way, is really, really neat, because these are scenes from Buffalo. So we have the Buffalo skyline and Niagara Falls, really close to Niagara Falls, about a 20-minute drive north. And there's City Hall, okay. So anyways, Yeah, I really need to focus now. So, the weather has been up and down. We had that big snowstorm. Well, it's not a really big snowstorm. You know, for a lot of people, it would be a really big snowstorm. For us in Western New York, not a big deal. We had about 2.5 feet of snow. You're probably thinking he's nuts. That's a lot of snow. But when you've had 6 to 7 feet of snow dropped in one storm cycle, the rest of this kind of looks like nothing. But everything is evenly covered now. And we actually had a few warm days between that storm and today, and a lot of it has melted. So we lost about 2/3 of our snowpack, believe it or not, and we have some mild temperatures coming up this week. Today, definitely not. It's not a warm day today, but the next couple of days we're going to be warming up, and it's going to be raining, so the snow's going to go away, and I'm okay with that. I am. These little pockets of snow is nice, and as long as it goes away, and then it can snow again and it can go away. I just don't like snows that continue to pile up on top of each other, and then it seems like the end is never ending. It's never in sight. So yeah, so I am in the shed. It is cold, but not freezing. Over here I've got a propane heater that is just doing the job nicely. I'm glad this place is electrified. I've got my electric kettle over here so that I can make my tea, and I need to take this tea bag out before it becomes too strong. I've got a little bit of milk here, and this is a maple syrup bottle that I kept because you never know when you're going to need it. All right. So I took all my Christmas stuff down, which to me is always, I don't know, a sense of relief. It's like, I feel like it's the beginning of the end when it comes to winter weather, even though it's really the beginning of the beginning. Who am I kidding? To have all the Christmas stuff down, to have all the windows opened, well, the shades opened up and everything looking very clean, and giving the house a good thorough cleaning and making sure I get all the pine needles, which there were many, taking care of all of that. And then I can kind of readjust my focus into looking at what's going to be happening in the garden. And that's really, really exciting. But we're going to look ahead, we're going to look back. The big thing I would like to talk about is how this year went. And it was ups and downs. I had some ups and I certainly had some downs. The upside is that I had a really, really wonderful time starting this YouTube channel. I thought I was a little wary about taking the plunge, but I can really thank my remote teaching experience for really giving me the kick in the rear end to get this channel started, because I honestly didn't know where to begin. And when I finally went into remote teaching and had to learn to use YouTube, because I had to be posting videos and things for my students, I thought, well, you know what, that's not so bad. I'll do some filming and here and there, and it's not that big of a deal. The editing process is a little dragging at times, but what a wonderful way to kind of what am I looking for? What's the word I'm looking for? Catalog, that's the word. To catalog what I've done in the garden, and I can look back. And it's funny because this time of year, I'm always on YouTube looking at other people's videos, especially this time of year. It's like things slow down a bit. School tends to wind down at the end of the year. It gives me time to go back and look at everyone else's videos. And I have been binging everybody's videos, all the people that I subscribe to. So motivation right there. It gives me ideas as well. So that was definitely the upside. I can look back and say, what did I do this year? What worked? What didn't? There's a lot of things that didn't work. And the biggest thing for me was the soil was not good. I had a really bad batch of compost. And the weather was really, really nice, but the weather did take out my polytunnel. So I cropped a lot. I didn't film a lot of it, but I did crop a lot. I cropped a lot of tomatoes. I'll tell you what, there were plenty of those. And beans and things like that. Not a lot of squash. We remember that. But again, being able to reflect on these things have really refocused me when it comes to the garden for 2021. So that's what I'm going to be looking forward to. And I've written some things down here when it comes to plans for 2021. And I just want to share a little bit with you on what I'm planning on doing this year. That's going to be a little bit different from this year past, but years past in general. So first and foremost, I have another polytunnel coming. The same exact one. And they say the definition of insanity is to doing the same thing twice but expecting a different outcome. Well, then I'm truly insane, because that's what's going to be happening. However, I will be taking precautions this time around. Yes, it cost a fair chunk of money, but I was so excited about having this tunnel for starting my seeds, for planting indoors so I can have an extended crop and everything. Never happened. It never happened. But the aluminum frame is a complete loss. I have a means to recycle that. I'll keep what I can, but the rest, I have a few contacts who like to come and collect metal items for me, and they take it to a recycle center and they get money for it, and that's great. It takes it off of my hands, and it gives someone, an extra few dollars in their pocket. But I do have an extra cover for it now, which is beautiful. That's usually the first thing that goes, right? It's always the cover. So the cover is in perfect shape. So what I'm going to do is, when I get this new tunnel, and when the snow melts, whenever that is, I'm going to get out there, I'm going to rebuild, I'm going to use the old cover because it's perfectly good, and I'm going to keep the new cover that comes with the new one. I'm putting it away and saving that for a rainy day. And it won't be as rainy if I have some issue with the cover that will be on there. If it rips or tears or, what have you, I've got an insurance policy built in, which is really, really nice. So I'm going to get that built, but I'm doing it completely different. I'm going to be building, not raised beds, but I'm going to be framing out where the plants are going to be going. I'm going to be using lumber to do it as a means to really affix it to the ground, so that I don't have, another Wizard of Oz, Dorothy Gale moment where it goes flying across the backyard. I'm going to keep it in the same spot. I felt that spot was really, really good. And I'm just going to take a different approach. So there will definitely be some footage on that, and I'm going to be enlisting the help of my nephew, who I think you'll be meeting pretty soon, to help me with that. He's a great kid, and he is a hard worker, and he's very interested in all of this stuff. So, I'll make it worth his while anyways. We'll make him a meal or something to go with that. So that's going to be the polytunnel, and I want to get planting in it as soon as I can. As I said, I don't want any seedlings in my house. If I can handle it, if I can possibly deal with that, I don't want them in my house this year. They took up way too much room. So if I have the tunnel, I'll be good to go. I'm not going to be planting my seedlings as early as I did. Our spring comes so late that there was really no point. Things that I had planted afterwards caught up with the stuff that I started back in February of this past year, so I see no point in planting terribly early. That's going to be really, really hard for me to do, because as gardeners, you guys know, we want to get our hands in the soil, we want to get started to grow things, and really, really hard, but we'll deal with that when the time comes. Secondly is the soil. Now, up to this point, I have been no-dig, and it has worked to some degree, except for when you come into a situation where you have bunk compost, like I had, and it totally ruined my growing year, as opposed to helping my growing year. And the idea of the no-dig is that you maintain the soil structure that's there, everything is organic, you build upon it, and then the microbes build up, and the earthworms help you, and all that. And in years past it has worked, but it's too much of a gamble, and it's money-wise, it's really, really expensive to buy all this compost. I don't really make a great deal of compost. My compost bins are small. I don't produce enough to create enough compost that I can use it on all of my beds. It just doesn't happen, so I have to buy it. I'm really kind of not willing to do that anymore. I don't want to spend that money only to have a really horrible crop of everything. So I will be going back to a digging garden this year. So I will be, come springtime, turning over all the soil in all of my beds, and I will be using organic fertilizers to bolster the nutrient base of it. And I am purchasing, or I have purchased, a soil testing kit. So I'm going to test my soil, and this is going to be a first for me. I've never done it before, but I feel with the amount of gardening that I do, with the garden size that I have, that it's a prudent thing to do. And I want to kind of see where things are with this yucky compost. If it has broken down and the soil's pretty decent, then hip hip hooray. If not, I'm going to need to amend it accordingly. So the last thing that I would like to do this year, which is going to be a little bit different, is instead of doing my normal timer sprinkler thing that I have, I've got those, the sprinklers that go off at different times of the day. I think I'm going to install a drip irrigation system that's going to service all of the vegetable beds and the polytunnel. My sister and her husband just built a bunch of raised beds behind their house, and they had a bunch of soil brought in for it, and I gave them a ton of my seedlings that I didn't have room for, and their garden did amazing. And I have every thought, I'm led to believe that a lot of it had to do with the fact that they had a decent watering schedule. Their soil was probably a lot better than mine too, but just the same, they had irregular watering where I did not. I feel like I did a lot of watering at night, and with the raised beds, a lot of it drained through, and all I got were muddy paths and dry raised beds. So I think I'm going to go with a drip irrigation system to service all of my beds, to make sure that my plants all have a decent amount of hydration this summer. So those are the big plans for me, and I'm excited about it. And infrastructure-wise, I don't think I'm going to be doing anything different. I don't think I'm going to add anything else. Famous last words. I always say that, but does that mean that's going to happen? I don't know. As I watch people's channels and I see different things, the old brain starts working again. And I think to myself, ooh, that might be a good idea. I do have enough room to add several more beds, but I'm going to try my hardest not to do that. I'm going to switch things up. Usually my beds, since they have been no-dig, my beds have been pretty consistent on where they are located. I've got my corn bed, my tomato bed, my brassica bed, etc., etc. I'm going to switch it up this year. I'm going to just completely redesign what grows where. So, yes. So that's really my plan. I have had so much fun doing this. I've had a lot of time off from doing it, which makes me sad, but you all understand that this year was unlike any year we've ever experienced. So everything that has, that you've normally done has been turned on its head, including, for me, my job and taking care of my garden and things like that. It was a readjustment. It was a big readjustment. That's why during the summer when I was off, I was delivering all of these videos to you guys, and then once kind of school started or was starting to approach, I kind of ended things there. So I want to get more into making a regular schedule for myself. And I need to stop beating myself up thinking, I have to get another video out, it's been a week. I can't do that. If I can't do it, I can't do it. Period. But I think I gave you guys maybe 2 tours last year of my garden. I want to do a monthly tour for sure. When they're going to start, it really depends on when this white stuff decides to go away. So I'd rather be shoveling dirt than snow. Let's just put it that way. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Not a terribly long video, I'm not really showing you anything, but I'm just kind of sharing and reflecting and enjoying my adorable little shed here, which has been neglected. It probably misses me. I miss it for sure. And oh, and one more thing I would like to say too. I'm looking at my list here. Thank goodness for that. A lot of things that I said that I was going to do but never did. I'm going to start compiling a list, another list, on another piece of fabulous paper here, on things that I was going to do that I never got around to doing. I need to keep myself in check. And again, watching my fellow YouTubers in action has really been my inspiration. So Jane Kelly, who I absolutely adore her. I love her videos. I love her sense of humor. I just think that we would be friends. She would be someone I would definitely be friends with. That's just how I feel about it. Anyways, I was watching Jane Kelly and catching up with her videos this morning and yesterday, and she has this video that she refers to Potions from the Plot. And that was something that I had mentioned that I was going to be doing, but never did. And harvesting all of those medicinals that I have and doing stuff with them. Never did them. So that's, one thing I would like to do. And cuttings. Oh, I'm going to take all these cuttings. I'm going to expand my repertoire. Never happened. I'd like to take more cuttings. I'd like to propagate what I have here to grow my garden. And yeah, different stuff like that. Doing a good clean out video. Like, I'm going to clean out my greenhouse. I'm going to film it, you guys. I always kind of thought to myself, I don't want to bore them with that. But you know what? I think it's good to have a little chat and to get things cleaned up. And there's that hope for, nicer days to come where I can start growing and doing things. So I'm going to be doing that as well. So yeah, I guess that's all. I'm going to continue on with my knitting here. And thank goodness for this propane heater because it's been really, really nice. Have you guys seen any mice in the background at all? I know I still have mice in here. I haven't seen any scurrying about, but I really don't mind. All of my seeds that are in here are pretty much under lock and key, so I'm not too concerned about them getting in here and taking a nibble. So they can have their fun in here during the winter months, but then I'm going to have to take action when the weather starts to improve to, vacate the rodents. So, alright. Well, this has been a fun little chat. I miss doing chats. I miss you guys. I'm looking forward to wonderful things to come. Planning, plotting, doing all of those things. You guys have a wonderful, wonderful new year. I look forward to sharing what I have to offer here in the garden and elsewhere. And there's going to be a lot more elsewhere. For example, I have a fuel pump coming for my 63 Chevrolet because my fuel pump bit the dust and was spewing gas everywhere. So I might do a little car repair video. I don't know. Who knows? Content of any kind is good. And for those people out there in YouTube land who look at things like that as not being garden related, please remember that everything that happens here at my cottage is really the Lake Effect Gardener. It's who I am. I'm the Lake Effect Gardener, and this is my journey. Whether it be baking, or knitting, or car repair, or anything like that, I'd like to take you guys on that journey with me. And you know what? If you come up across that car repair video and you have no interest in it whatsoever, that's fine. That's fine. Just skip right over it. There'll be something that suits you in the time that will progress. So that's it for me, everybody. Have a wonderful, wonderful, safe, and happy New Year. Hurrah for 2021. Let's hope that it brings a lot of positive change, a change in the right direction, and I will see you guys very, very soon. Bye for now.